Hey everyone, Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue, here with another Mock Draft Monday. Yes, it is that time of week, and we're going to do another Mock Draft Monday, Mazo and I. I'm going to do one, then he's going to do one, and we're going to put them together and let you guys tell us what you think about them. What I'm going to try and do is something a little bit different this week. In other words, why keep drafting the same players? You don't need to keep watching the same draft. So I'm going to make a few moves that are a little different this week and see how you like them. So let me show you. I've already done the mock, what I came up with, and let you tell me what you think about this. So here basically is the result of my mock draft, my most recent mock draft on profootballnetwork.com. Shout out again to PFN for having this technology. So as you see, I made a few trades. These little circles, these blue circles, indicate that a trade was made. And you'll notice that the first pick I made was the 7th overall pick, not the 3rd overall pick. So you can already see that I made a trade. So first, let me show you who I got. As you see, I got Shedeur Sanders with the 7th pick. I got Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon, with the 19th pick. I got guard Tate Ratledge from Georgia with the 53rd pick. I got Jaden Higgins, wide receiver from Iowa State, with the 65th pick. I got Teddy Buchanan, linebacker from Cal, with the 105th pick. I got running back Damian Martinez from Miami with the 109th pick. I got wide receiver Will Shepard from Colorado with the 219th pick. I got kicker Ben Sauls from Pittsburgh with the 246th pick. And in addition to those picks, I acquired some trades from next year. I got the Jets' 2nd round pick next year. I have the Raiders' 3rd round pick next year. And I have the Bills' 4th round pick next year. In fairness, I'll explain all those trades in a second. So those are the results. That's who I got. I'm going to walk you through how I got them in a second, but you already get a little bit of a sense that a lot of these guys are people I hadn't been picking before. And so I'm trying something different this time, and I'd love to hear what you think about that. So let me start with the first person that I wound up picking was Shedeur Sanders. Now, Shedeur Sanders, as you know, is not my favorite quarterback in this draft. Cam Ward is, but Cam Ward was gone. The first 2 picks in the draft were Cam Ward and Abdul Carter, so they were off the board. Those are the 2 people who I would be happy to take with the 3rd overall pick. In my opinion, if it isn't one of them, then we shouldn't make the 3rd overall pick, and we should trade now, which is exactly what I did. So I'll show you in a second how I got there. So with the 3rd overall pick, I listened to an offer from the Raiders. The Raiders said, we want the 3rd overall pick. I said, fine. So the Raiders gave me their 6th overall pick, their 2nd round pick, which is the 37th overall pick. And then they let me take their 3rd round pick next year in exchange for my 4th round pick next year. So I moved up a round. And all that for my 3rd overall pick, which they used to pick Travis Hunter. Again, if we wound up picking Travis Hunter, I ain't mad at you, but that wouldn't have been my choice. It wasn't my choice. That's not what I decided to do. So yes, I traded 3 and next year's 4th for 6, 37, and next year's 3rd. I like that. But then with the 6th pick, the Jets came knocking and said, listen, you know we don't want a quarterback. We just got Justin Fields. We're going with him as our quarterback. So if you're still thinking you want a quarterback, let us make you an offer. And I said, sure. So they gave us their 7th pick, 1 pick later, and next year's 2nd round pick, so they could move up for Will Campbell. So they want to protect Justin Fields, who they just signed, by getting him a really good offensive lineman. I happen to think Will Campbell's a little overrated, but he's going to be a really good offensive lineman. In any event, those were the first 2 trades that I made. So I went from 3 to 6 and added a pick number 37 and moved up around next year. And then from 6 to 7 to add a 2nd round pick next year. And I'm feeling pretty good about that. And so that's how I got to pick 7. And what did I do with pick 7? I picked Shedeur Sanders. Now, again, I don't love Shedeur Sanders like I love Cam Ward, and I certainly wouldn't pick Shedeur Sanders 3rd. But if I can move back and pick him 7th and add some draft capital, now it's not just take Shedeur Sanders 3rd. It's take Shedeur Sanders and the 37th pick in the 2nd round and a Jet 2nd round pick. You know, when you look at it that way, then yes, I can take Shedeur Sanders. That to me is a much better deal for Shedeur Sanders. So then I said, all right, well, I could just wait till the second round and use those 2 picks, but I don't really want to do that. So I wanted to move up, and I did. So the next thing I did was I moved up for the 15th pick. Remember, I've told you a few times that Atlanta only has a handful of picks. They actually have 5 picks. I think they added a comp pick last week when the official comp picks were announced. So they actually have 5 picks, but still, they're not, loaded with draft picks this year. So their pick number 15, I said, well, how about I give you a few picks for your pick 15? And they were fine with that. So this is actually not the right trade. Let me go to the right trade. That is the next trade I made. I'm sorry, I skipped a trade. I'm like Trader Clay today. I made so many trades that I've actually lost track of some of them. So here is what I actually did next. So I wanted pick 15. I gave them the 2 second-round picks that I now have. I just acquired pick number 37. I already had pick 34, and I threw in pick 154, a 5th-round pick. So I gave them 2 seconds and a 5th for that pick 15. So that was the next thing I did to give me pick 15. And I was really excited about having pick 15 because there's a lot of really good players, Nicky Manwari, G.R. Campbell, et cetera, Jalen Walker. I've been talking about a lot of these guys that I wanted. So I moved up for them. But just before I was going to make that 15th pick, here comes the Cardinals saying, wait a minute, would you be willing to move back 1 more spot to 16, and we'll give you another 3rd-round pick number 78, in exchange for doing that, for moving back 1 spot? And I said, okay, that sounds good. So I did that. So first, again, I traded up 2 seconds and a 5th, and you see that they used those 2 seconds and a 5th for cornerback Trey Amos, tight end Harold Fannin, and Noah Williams. And those are good players. I'm not saying that Atlanta didn't do well with what they got, but I like the idea that with the 15th pick, I then traded back to the 16th pick, gave that to the Cardinals, who went and took James Pierce, but I wound up with 16 and 78. Are you with me? So far, all I've actually taken is Shedeur Sanders at 7. And then I traded back up to 15, back to 16. And what did I do at 16? Well, at 16, I said, well, hold on. I'm about to make pick 16. And someone came knocking on my door again. Tampa Bay. Again, why am I doing it this way? Because I want to see what different kind of approaches to the NFL draft would be. If I just keep picking, the same few people, you're going to stop watching. I'm going to get bored. This is more exciting. This is more interesting. This is actually what I hope Shane does. If we don't get Cam Ward or Abdul Carter, let's stock up on picks and get somebody else good. So what do? I said, okay, so Tampa Bay came calling and said, I want that 16th pick and that 78th pick that you just got. And if you will be willing to move back 3 spots to 19, I'll give you pick 53, a 2nd-round pick, instead of that pick 78, that 3rd-round pick. So basically, the 16 and the 78 that I just got handed for pick 15, I now turned into pick 19 and pick 53, which to me is an even better deal. Pick 53 is a 2nd-round pick. I like that a lot better. Basically moved up 25 spots from 78 to 53 just to move back 3 more spots in the 1st round, where I still think there's a lot of really good players. And so what I wound up getting with pick 19 was Derek Harmon, as I mentioned earlier. So Derek Harmon, who I think is going to be a very good defensive tackle / defensive end, he reminds me a lot of B.J. Hill. I see him as like B.J. Hill 2.0. And since we didn't sign B.J. Hill in free agency, I said, let's go out and get somebody who was reminiscent of him and could perhaps provide a lot of the same things. So I was willing to do that. And with pick 53, as you see, I went up taking Georgia guard Tate Ratledge, who was very impressive in the combine and who's somebody I'm really looking forward to adding to our interior offensive line, where we still haven't signed a really good guard. We've signed some depth pieces, but nobody who I think is necessarily going to start. Greg Van Roten right now is probably penciled in as our starting right guard again, and I think we can do better. So that was what I did with pick 19. I actually used it and picked Derek Harmon. So what's the next thing I did? So you see that the next pick after 19 that we actually made was Tate Ratledge with the second round pick number 53. But then we had our pick number 65, which was the first pick of the third round, which we didn't actually trade. That was ours already. And as I mentioned, I used that on wide receiver Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Then I had acquired we already had pick 105. I used pick 105 on Teddy Buchanan, inside linebacker from Cal that I've talked about before. And I acquired pick 109. I used that to pick Damian Martinez, who I think is going to be a power running back for us, a fullback for us. Now, you might wonder, how did I get there? How did I get him? Well, this is what I did. We had pick 99 from the comp picks. As you just know, we were awarded last week. But Buffalo wanted pick 99, and I let them come up to get pick 99, which they used on an edge rusher, Ashton Gillette. Good player, but not the player I probably would have picked anyway. But they gave us their fourth round pick next year in exchange for our sixth round pick next year. So we actually moved up 2 rounds next year to move back 10 spots now. And I said, fine. So that's how we got picked 109 instead of 99. We already had 105, but 99 moved back to 109 so we could add a fourth next year instead of the sixth. And that's how we wound up with a second, a third, and a fourth next year, extra second, third, and fourth next year because of this Buffalo pick as well. And so Damian Martinez, who I think is going to be like that power fullback, that short yardage guy, the guy that on 3rd and 1, maybe, Tyrone Tracy isn't the 3rd and 1 guy. Not to say he can't be, but he's not really built that way. That's not really his strength. But it is Damian Martinez's strength. He's not going to, rip off a 50 or 60 yarder necessarily, but he can pick up 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. And that's what we need. Somebody else who can do that. Devin Singletary probably can do it too. Can do it too, but I'm not sure how much we're invested in Devin Singletary right now. I'm not sure he's even going to be on the roster, to be honest, especially if we drafted Damian Martinez. If we don't, sure, those 2 running backs worked out for us fairly well last year, although we were 31st in the league in offense. So how well did they work? But if we keep Devin Singletary, that's fine. But Damian Martinez, I think, would be a better short yardage back. So that's why I did that. And then, like I said, after that, I got Will Sheppard, who wasn't even invited to the combine, and Ben Sauls, Will Sheppard, wide receiver from Colorado. And I picked him because Shedeur is the quarterback, right? If I picked a different quarterback, I probably wouldn't have picked Will Sheppard. But because they already have that chemistry, because Shedeur likes throwing to, similar to what I said before, that if we got Cam Ward, we should probably try to get Xavier Restrepo because that's his guy. Will Sheppard is Shedeur Sanders' guy. So he was still on the board in the 7th round at pick number 219. I said, fine, let's take him. And then Ben Sauls, I think, is the best kicker in the draft. So that's what I did. And that's how I got there. Now let's take a little bit of a look very quickly at some of their individual stats. So Derek Harmon, 6'4.5", 313, 34 3/8 arm length. That's pretty long. That's really, really good for a defensive end, even much less defensive tackle. And 10 3/8 hands. He's got big hands and long arms. He's strong. He's a big guy. So I like that about him a lot. He also is pretty athletic. He ran a 4.9 540 at 315-ish pounds and a 1.74 split in the 10 yards. So this is a guy who's pretty athletic. Like I said, he reminds me of BJ Hill. I think he could be someone that we use either as defensive tackle next to Dexter, or if we went to a 3-4 front with 3 actual defensive linemen, not just these edge rushers, he could be a defensive end. I like that about him, and I think that he's going to be valuable. I actually like his teammate Jordan Burch a little bit better. I think that 3-4 years from now, Jordan Burch might be considered the better pro, but Jordan Burch isn't very good against the run yet. Certainly not as good as Derek Harmon is, and our needs right now are greater and at stopping the run. And Derek Harmon is 315. Jordan Burch is 280. He's a legit defensive end, but he's not the guy you want as defensive tackle next to Dexter. You want him if you're going to like a legit 4-3 with defensive ends, or if you're even going to a 3-4 where the other 2 interior defensive linemen are the beefier ones. So much as I like Jordan Burch, really like Jordan Burch, I think Derek Harmon was a better fit for what we needed right now. So that's who I picked in the first round with my second first round pick. And then what did I do? I picked guard Tate Ratledge, who is also very athletic, very good guard out of Georgia. He's, as you see, 6'6.5", 308 pounds. Only 32 and a quarter inch arms, but he's playing guard, not tackle, so that's not a big deal. 10 and 3/8 inch hands, also big hands. He gets his hands on you, that plays over. He's a big, strong guy. And I like the fact that he's also pretty nimble of foot. As you see, he ran a 4.9740 with a 1.72 split. That's pretty good for that size human being, 6'6.5" and 300 and change. A 32-inch vertical leap, 9.5, 9.5 broad jump, and 7.38 three-cone drill. Those all say to me he could get out in front of the sweep. He could lead downfield on the screen. He's someone that, allows us to run some of those plays that we haven't been able to run well for years because our interior offensive linemen are too slow. So I really like the idea that Tate Ratledge could help us to do those things. And I would think he would be starting at one of the guard positions next year. So that was who I picked in the second round. Now, what about Jaden Higgins? Who's Jaden Higgins, you say? Let's take a look. Jaden Higgins, he is 6'4", 214, 33 and an eighth inch arms, 9 and an eighth inch hands, 6'3", eventual plus starter. I like that about him. He is someone who I think we really, we need a big body receiver. 6'4", 215 isn't on our roster yet, at least not, Isaiah Hodgins is, but he's not in favor right now. A 4.4 740, that's not flying, but it's very solidly fast for 6'4" and that kind of weight. And a 1.53 10-yard split is very impressive as well. 39-inch vertical, that's huge. 10.8 broad jump, that's huge. He's very explosive. This is a man that I think we'll be very happy to have opposite Malik Nabers as the other outside receiver. And I really like what he could add as the other receiver who, when Malik invariably gets double teamed, he's going to face single coverage. And I just think that that's going to be a nightmare for other teams if we have that kind of option as the other wide receiver. I've talked about Teddy Buchanan before, but I'll show you his combine numbers again. He is someone that's a tackling machine. He's 6'2", 233. Not very long arms, not very big hands. They say he's going to be an average backup to special teamer. I think they're wrong, as I said before. 4.6 40, 1.59 split, 40-inch vertical. That was higher than the wide receiver we just talked about. And 10.5 broad jump and 26 bench reps. Like, this is a good athlete, right? This guy, he's not super fast. 4.6 flat is solid, but not super fast. But everything else about his athleticism, jumps off the page at you. And like I said, he's a tackling machine. So yeah, I'm really excited about having Teddy Buchanan. I hope that works out for us. And then Damian Martinez is someone who, like I said, I think he's that short yardage guy. He's that guy who picks up those tough yards. They say he hasn't really developed as a pass protector yet. And you know what? That's fine. If it's 3rd and 1, we're not throwing the ball. Not if he's the guy who I think he is. So he's 6 foot 217, which may not sound that big, but he is an angry runner, to borrow a phrase from Good Morning Football. He's an angry runner. He's, short arms, not big hands. Doesn't look like he's that big, but he is really, really strong. 4.5 140 is solid for basically the short yardage type of running back that he is going to be. A 1.56 split, 35-inch vertical, 10.4 broad jump. Again, he's not an amazing athlete, but I think that he's got one job: get in there in short yardage and pick up that last yard or two. And I think he will be able to do that quite well. So I'm really excited about that. And the other two players, again, Will Sheppard, for some reason, wasn't invited to the combine. So we don't have, all of that information on him. But what we do know is what stats he put up. So after transferring to Colorado this year from Vanderbilt, you see that, this young man had, 48 catches, 621 yards receiving, averaged 13 yards a catch, and had 6 touchdowns. Again, is that going to scare anybody? No, but he is a solid receiving option for Shedeur and has a rapport with him already. He is 6'3", 190. So again, another fairly big-bodied receiver that gives us, that kind of other option besides the Wandales and Malik Neighbors and people like that we already have. So that's what Will Sheppard's data looks like. And now finally, let's look at the kicker that I picked, Ben Sauls. I was torn between Ben Sauls and Borregales from Miami and Ryan Fitzgerald from NC State, but Ben Sauls played for Pittsburgh, which is obviously closer to New York in weather conditions. And he is outstanding. And if you can kick that well in Pittsburgh, my guess is you can kick well in New York. Certainly that makes me more confident you can kick well in New York compared to someone from Miami or Florida State, where they never see any cold weather. So I like the fact that Ben Sauls, he's 5'10", he's 185. That's about the same size as those other guys. None of them are particularly big. But he had 87% field goal percentage and 100% on his extra points. And it's 100% for the last 3 years. Like, he hasn't missed an extra point in 3 years. So that is very impressive to me. You see the extra point made, an extra point attempted, 44 for 44 this year. He was 28 for 28 last year, and he was 47 for 47 the year before that. He hasn't missed an extra point since 2021. The man can kick, and he was 6 for 7 in 50-yard or longer field goals this year. So 6 for 7 in 50-yarders, that's impressive. Again, especially playing in a cold weather place like Pittsburgh. He was 21 for 24 overall, which is a very good percentage anyway. I really like him a lot. I think that we would do well to grab him. I hope he's still there in the 7th round. We may even have to get him sooner than that. So anyway, those are my picks for this particular edition of Mock Draft Monday. Love to hear what you think about that. Drop a comment. Tell me which guys you like, which guys you didn't like, which trade you like, which trade you didn't like. As always, please, share, like, subscribe, all those good things. And let us know which, because Mazo is going to post his as well. Let us know which of the mock drafts you like better and why. And as always, Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas, and I'm out.
Big shout out to El Marquis Productions, the talent behind the music and production here at Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Their beats bring energy and excitement to every episode. El Marquis' skills in mixing, mastering, and creating top quality sound make the podcast come alive each week. For your own projects, check out elmarquisproductions.com and take your sound to the next level.